The Nevada legislature meets in exactly 1 week for a crucial session. The largest task it'll be tackling is the state's multi-billion-dollar budget, which is missing millions in revenue compared to last year. 13 Action News reporter Sean Delancey joins us live with the first in a series of stories pressing leaders in both chambers for answers. Sean?
Yeah, Kalina, the state legislature is required to pass a balanced budget. The pandemic has wreaked havoc on the state's tax revenue, so legislative leadership say there is going to be cuts.
Senate Majority Leader Nicole Cannizzaro and Assembly Speaker Jason Frierson will lead the Democratic state majority months into the coronavirus pandemic. They can't act without a supermajority, meaning that they will have to work with minority leaders, Assemblywoman Robin Titus and Senator James Settlemeyer. The tallest task ahead of them, funding the government.
Any revenue conversation in the state of Nevada is going to require 2/3 vote, and those are never easy. So we're going to have some bipartisan conversations about.
Frierson says that while facing an estimated $500 million shortfall compared to the 2019 session, he'll fight cuts to education and small business, but nothing is off limits.
I don't know that we can afford to say we can't touch anything. I just don't know that you can advance a state budget that way without, running a deficit, which we're not allowed to do.
Cannizzaro says education and healthcare are her focus, agreeing with Governor Steve Sisolak that Medicaid reimbursement rates need to be restored to pre-special session levels.
During the special session, as you mentioned, we had to make a lot of tough choices when faced with a roughly $1.3 billion budget deficit, and we are required to have a balanced budget. So there were cuts to things in healthcare like Medicaid.
Republican leaders Titus and Settlemeyer agree education should be protected from deep cuts.
Education has to be a priority. That's our number one function in the legislature, is to approve the budgets, and the number one budget we have to pass first before we can look at any other budget is the education budget.
Titus says budget conversation among leadership has been almost non-existent, however. She says most talks resolve around safety protocols during the pandemic. Settlemeyer says getting into the weeds now would also be premature. The mid-session economic forum will actually tell them what they have to spend.
So in May, when the economic forum gives us that number, that's the amount of money we have to spend. So it doesn't matter what anybody's particular opinion is right now of saying, well, I think we're this or I think we're that.
When that number is finalized, many lawmakers may realize that it is simply not enough, and then a political dirty word could rear its ugly head: taxes. I'll tell you how legislative leadership feel about that word coming up in our next look ahead at the 2021 legislative session. Sean Delancey, 13 Action News.